The easiest way to graph an exponential function is to make a table of values. And the easiest table of values to make is a table that goes from -2 up to +2. So we're going to go ahead and do just that on a couple of these examples so you can see how they work. Now, of course, all of this is graphing without any extra tools. It's just simply graphing it by hand. So here you're going to make your XY table. And in doing so, you have that y is 2 to the x, and so we're going to have -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. And so I'm going to show you with the first one that you just simply plug it in, and then essentially you spit out an answer. And so we can actually do all of this without using a calculator in any way. So first of all, we would have 2 to the -2. Now with that, we know that our exponential rules say you can't have a negative power. So this is really the same as saying that you have 1 over 2 squared. We know 2 squared is 4, so this is 1 over 4. Okay, and that same concept gets applied. So if we have 2 to the -1st, again remember that's the same as 1 over 2 to the 1st, which is 1/2. Here we would have 2 to the 0, which spits out a 1. And then we simply have 2 to the 1st, which is 2, and 2 squared, which is 4. So we have all of our points. Now, with that, when we look at these, right here, you have points that are not fractions, and so this is where I would graph first, because they are going to be the easiest ones to put into your graph. So here we have the point 0, 1, so we're going to be right here at 0, 1. We then have 1, 2, so we're going to go over 1, up 1, 2, so that point is right here. And then we have 2, 4, so 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can see that this is on an upward trajectory. Okay. Then going down, I would start with -1, and we're at a half, so that's roughly here. And then at -2, we're at a quarter, so we're getting closer and closer down to our 0. So if we connect these lines, you will see that this kind of comes straight up in this fashion, and it continues down this direction, getting infinitely close to your axis line. Okay? And so that's all there is to it, creating your table and doing your graph. So no matter what it is that your exponential is, I always recommend you graph the whole number per points first and worry about the fractions second. All right, let's take a look at another one. So here we can go ahead and do the same. We can make an x and a y table, and this is going to be 4 to the x minus 1. And just like before, I'd use the same points. So we have -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. I am making this table a little bit more spaced out just to kind of give myself a little bit of room. And so here we're going to start. I'm going to have 4 raised to the -2 minus 3. When I look at that math, this is going to become 4, sorry, not -3, -1, jumping ahead of myself. So -2 minus 1 is -3. 4 to the -3 is the same as 1 over 4 cubed, which in this case is going to be 1 over 64. Alright, let's do it again. Here we have 4 to the -1st minus 1. Again, working the math, this is 4 to the -2, which is the same as 1 over 4 squared, which is 1 over 16. I then have 4 to the 0 minus 1. This is 4 to the -1st, which is the same as 1 over 4 to the 1st, which again is 1/4. Here I'm going to have 4 to the 1 minus 1. This gives me 4 to the 0 power, which gives me 1. And last, I have 4 to the 2 minus 1. This is the same as 4 to the first, which is 4. So I've kind of filled out my table. I should have plenty of points to be able to graph what I need to graph. Just like before, I would start here and graph these points first. So I have the point 1, 1, so I'm over 1, up 1, so that's the point right here. I also have the point 2, 4, so 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, that is this point here. So again, notice I have this upward trajectory going on. And now I'm going to start. I'm going to start with my smallest fraction. So I have 0 and a quarter, so that's going to be way down here. I've got -1 and a 16th, so notice I'm getting closer. And then at -2, I'm at 1/64th, so I am getting infinitely closer to that axis line. So again, I can start by drawing my values. So here we are increasing pretty quickly, but then we are sticking to the axis line very quickly. Okay. Alright, now the last one I wanted to show you is if we use E. Okay. Now E is that very special term on a calculator. And so each calculator is going to show it slightly different ways. If you notice on this calculator here, I'm hoping you can see it, right here above my LN button, you can see is this little e to the x, so that would be that special E. Okay. If you're using a calculator more like the TI-36 Pro, so like this one, notice here I have a button that is E to the little square, so this is my E button. They are a very specific function. It has a repeating or never-ending decimal. And so for this, you would go ahead and use your calculator, but we can still set up the same XY table. So we would still set up X and then Y equals -E to the 1/4 X. I would still give myself some space, so I've got -2, 1, 0, 1, and 2. And then just like before, I'm going to plug it in. So this is -E to the 1/4 times a -2. In this case, this would be the same as having -E to the -2/4. And since you're going to use your calculator, you could go ahead and plug that in. And so what's going to happen here, if I show you my calculator, is I'm going to kind of plug this in as you see it. So I've got my negative, but then I need to use the E. So I'm going to come over here to my E button and use that. And then I have parenthesis -2 divided by 4, close it, and hit enter. And so this here would be the decimal you get, and now you're going to want to just kind of use the hundredths. And so here my result would be -0.61 because we'd round. And so here we have that this is -0.61. Now we're going to do that for all the rest. And so here you would have -E to the 1/4 times a -1. And when we use our calculator, you're going to get -0.78. So do make sure that you kind of follow or check yourself along as we go, just to make sure you're getting the same values that I'm getting. Here we would have -E to the 1/4 times 0, which is going to give me a -1. -E to the 1/4 times 1, which is -1.28, and then -E to the 1/4 times 2, which is -1.65. So with this, we have to kind of graph. So the first place where I would start is right here at your whole number. So this is where I would start. And we have the point 0, -1, so that's right here. And then it's just a matter of graphing them in general. So you can start with your negatives and then work positive, or vice versa. It's up to you. Here at -1, we have -0.78. So we're not quite down at -1. And here we're getting even closer to my axis line. Okay, so you can kind of start to see that we're coming up to approach. On the other side, I have 1.28, so at 1 I'm down at 1. 1.28 is going to be slightly bigger than that. And then I have 1.65, which is going to be slightly bigger than that. And so what you can see is that my graph is approaching this line up here, but it is a very, very kind of wide or long curve. And so this is kind of what we've got, is this curve that goes right along here. Okay. So if you have any questions on graphing your exponentials, please let me know. Otherwise, I hope this helped you, and I'll see you next time.